At 68 years old, Dwight Yoakam isn't slowing down. He's just living quieter, smarter, and deeper than ever before. The denim-clad icon who once shook up country music with his rebellious sound now lives a life shrouded in privacy and elegance. Behind the hat and the Hollywood smile is a man with a fortune built over 4 decades, a secret wedding that stunned fans, and a lifestyle that screams cowboy cool and millionaire mystery. From muscle cars to multi-million-dollar estates, from acting in Hollywood blockbusters to releasing surprise albums, Dwight's story didn't stop at the charts. It only got more interesting, and what's unfolding now may be the most surprising chapter yet. Long before the world knew his name, Dwight Yoakam was just a restless boy from Pikeville, Kentucky, born in 1956 and raised in Columbus, Ohio. While others were listening to pop, Dwight was absorbing the raw grit of Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, and the sounds of the Bakersfield scene. He didn't fit into the Nashville mold, and he never tried to. That stubborn streak would become his greatest asset. In the early 80s, he packed up for Los Angeles, playing punk clubs with a honky-tonk twang that confused the crowds at first, but soon had them cheering. It was a bizarre blend, country music in a punk scene. But Dwight saw something no one else did, the power of standing out. When Nashville refused to play his songs, he doubled down. His debut album, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., etc., in 1986, hit like a lightning bolt. It went platinum, won him awards, and made it clear. This wasn't a passing trend. He was here to stay. But with the fame came money, and with money, choices. Most stars bought mansions and made headlines. Dwight, he kept one boot in the spotlight and the other firmly in the shadows. He never chased pop charts. Instead, he crafted a legacy, album after album, tour after tour. Critics called him a throwback. Fans called him a savior. Dwight simply called it music. What few realized then was that he wasn't just building a sound. He was building an empire, quietly, methodically, and on his own terms. And behind that curtain, a personal life that would stay secret for decades. For decades, Dwight Yoakam was country music's most elusive heartthrob. With his piercing stare, slim jeans, and that signature tilted cowboy hat, he had no shortage of admirers on and off stage. He was rumored to be romantically linked to A-list actresses like Sharon Stone and Bridget Fonda, though none of those stories were ever fully confirmed. He played the game of fame like a pro, giving the world his voice, but keeping his heart locked behind closed doors. That all changed in 2020. In the midst of a global pandemic, Dwight quietly married longtime girlfriend Emily Joyce. No paparazzi, no fanfare, just a simple ceremony at an undisclosed location with only a few witnesses, and even those were socially distanced. The couple had been together for nearly a decade by then, but Dwight had kept the relationship almost entirely out of the public eye. And here's what surprised fans even more. Emily was nearly 3 decades younger than Dwight, a professional photographer with a calm presence and sharp creative eye. Emily had been by Dwight's side for years, often seen behind the camera during his photo shoots, rarely in front of it. In the same announcement that revealed their marriage, Dwight also dropped another bombshell. He was a father. At 63, Dwight Yoakam became a dad for the very first time. The couple welcomed a son, Dalton Lauren Yoakam, ushering in a new, unexpected chapter of fatherhood for the country legend. And true to form, Dwight never made a spectacle of it. No baby magazine spreads, no media interviews, just a simple statement and a return to his private life. Those close to the couple describe Emily as Dwight's anchor. She handles much of the behind-the-scenes business, helps manage his brand, and protects their young son from the spotlight. Together, they've created a quiet sanctuary, far removed from the chaos of the music industry. It's a love story written in the margins, not the headlines. And for a man like Dwight, that's exactly how he wanted it. Dwight Yoakam isn't one for red carpet tours of his home. In an age where celebrities flaunt their mansions on Instagram and give guided YouTube walkthroughs, Dwight prefers something else entirely: privacy. And yet, behind the walls of his hidden properties lies a lifestyle as curated as his music. His main residence is believed to be a secluded estate in California, nestled away from the chaos of Los Angeles, where winding driveways and towering hedges protect what insiders call a modern Western sanctuary. The home features everything you'd expect from a music legend: walls lined with vintage guitars, shelves packed with vinyl, a private recording studio, and decor that blends rustic Americana with rock and roll edge. Think cowhide rugs, weathered leather chairs, and original artwork from country's golden era. He's also owned a classic home in the Hollywood Hills, purchased back in his early film career days. That property, reportedly restored by Dwight himself, was a 1950s-style mid-century gem, with floor-to-ceiling windows and panoramic views, a place where he could play music while watching the California sunset bleed into the hills. But what truly reflects his soul is the lesser-known ranch he retreats to, just outside of town. There, the land stretches wide, and the noise fades. It's where he goes to write, to be with his family, and to recharge. Locals say he's often seen in jeans and a worn-out flannel shirt, feeding horses, walking the land, or simply strumming his guitar under the open sky. Despite his wealth, Dwight never built a kingdom of excess. His homes aren't about showing off. They're about shutting out the world. There's no golden gates, no flashy marble statues, just space, silence, and stories. And somewhere inside those walls, a man who once stood on some of the world's biggest stages now finds his peace in the quiet. Because for Dwight, home was never about fame. It was about freedom. If you want to understand a man like Dwight Yoakam, don't look at his stage costumes. Look at his garage. Beneath the cool, controlled image, and behind the private ranch gates, lies a car collection that is pure rockabilly Americana, equal parts nostalgia, horsepower, and attitude. Dwight has never been loud about his vehicles, but those who've caught glimpses know this much: his taste is immaculate, and every machine tells a story. His prized possessions include vintage Cadillacs that look like they rolled straight out of a 1950s country song. One of the crown jewels? A powder blue 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz convertible. Sleek tail fins, white wall tires, chrome accents so polished you can see your reflection in them. This isn't just a car, it's a time capsule, a nod to an era Dwight has always honored in his music. But the collection doesn't stop there. He's also been spotted with a jet black 1967 Pontiac GTO, an absolute muscle beast that purrs with authority and demands respect on the road. Then there's the rumor of a cherry red 1955 Chevy Bel Air coupe, reportedly customized with hidden modern upgrades under the hood, but kept period correct in its outward charm. Fans have occasionally spotted him pulling up to venues or small-town diners behind the wheel of these classics, always dressed like he just stepped off a vinyl album cover. And when he's not cruising in a car, he's riding his motorcycle, most famously a custom Harley-Davidson Softail. Matte black, low-slung, and built for comfort and speed, it reflects the rebel edge Dwight has always carried with him. What's fascinating is that he rarely flaunts these rides. No flashy photo shoots, no revving engines on social media. Instead, he lets the cars speak when he's in them. For Dwight, a car isn't a toy, it's an extension of his identity. These vehicles aren't just machines, they're moving monuments to the past. They remind us of a time when style had soul and speed came with steel. And like Dwight himself, they've only gotten more valuable with age. Dwight Yoakam didn't just conquer country music, he crossed over into Hollywood and carved out a second empire with quiet precision. While most artists struggle to reinvent themselves outside their primary craft, Dwight walked into acting like he belonged there, and the camera couldn't look away. His breakout performance in Sling Blade, 1996, where he played the emotionally volatile Doyle Hargraves, left critics stunned. It wasn't just a good role, it was unforgettable, gritty, real, and raw. The same qualities that made his music cut deep were suddenly being broadcast to movie audiences around the world. From there, Dwight became a go-to character actor. He brought tension to Panic Room alongside Jodie Foster, levity to Wedding Crashers, and mystery to the Newton Boys. But it wasn't about quantity. Dwight chose roles carefully, often playing morally gray, unpredictable men. And because he played them so well, the checks kept coming. He didn't just take on acting for fame. It was strategy. Hollywood money is different. Residuals, royalties, producer credits. Dwight knew that. He negotiated smartly, retained creative control when he could, and built relationships with directors who respected his artistry. Behind the scenes, he quietly stacked checks. While other stars bought mansions they couldn't afford, Dwight played the long game. And he didn't stop there. His music career continued to evolve, sometimes under the radar, but always on his terms. He launched his own record label imprint, Electro Disc, giving him control over distribution and ownership. His album, 3 Pairs, 2012, was a critical comeback, landing on multiple year-end best-of lists, and showing that he wasn't chasing radio trends. He was creating art. And let's not forget touring. Dwight has consistently sold out venues across America, and he's one of the few artists from his era who still commands premium ticket prices. His shows aren't just concerts, they're experiences. That keeps the money flowing and the brand alive. Merchandise sales, licensing deals, and soundtrack placements have all padded his bank account further. One source close to the artist claimed that Dwight sees every project, whether it's a film, an album, or a business move, as a building block. Not a moment of fame, but a piece of a long-term legacy. And here's the truth few realize. Dwight never needed a tabloid headline to stay relevant. His staying power came from ownership, patience, and talent. And in a business where most burn out or sell out, he managed to do something very rare: cash in without giving in. When Dwight Yoakam walks into a room, you know it's him. Tight jeans, pointed boots, a vintage jacket, and that low-slung cowboy hat tilted just enough to cast a mysterious shadow. His look hasn't changed much in decades, and that's exactly why it works. What fans might not realize is that this signature style is more than just fashion. It's branding, and Dwight has turned it into a powerful business weapon. In the early days, record executives mocked his fitted jeans and retro sensibilities. But while others chased trends, Dwight doubled down on authenticity. He knew that if he stayed consistent, visually and musically, he wouldn't just be a passing fad, he'd be a legacy act. Over the years, that strategy paid off. His silhouette alone is recognizable without ever seeing his face. That's powerful branding, and brands mean business. Dwight eventually leaned into that image with exclusive merchandise runs, including limited edition clothing items that mimic his own wardrobe. From denim jackets to embroidered shirts and custom cowboy hats, his merch became collector's items, not just souvenirs. One of his most profitable ventures came in the form of a Western fashion collaboration with a boutique designer, where he released a curated line of retro-inspired clothing rooted in his honky-tonk heritage. The items sold out in days, proving his influence went far beyond music. But style wasn't the only area where Dwight made smart moves. Insiders in the industry have whispered about his savvy investments. Real estate properties flipped quietly for profit, startup tech ventures he got in on early, and publishing rights he refused to sell, even when offered millions. Unlike many of his peers who gave away their catalogs early for fast cash, Dwight understood that the long-term value of his songwriting and performance royalties would far exceed the one-time payout. He still earns revenue from licensing his music to films, commercials, and documentaries, and he controls most of that process himself. Beyond that, Dwight's keen eye for storytelling and aesthetics led him to direct music videos, advise on film productions, and even mentor emerging artists. He's built a creative empire that extends into every corner of entertainment. And here's the most remarkable part. He's done it all while avoiding the trap of overexposure. Dwight doesn't flood the market. He doesn't do a million interviews. He doesn't show up at every red carpet. He remains elusive, which only adds to his allure and allows his business ventures to speak louder than any tabloid headline ever could. At 68, Dwight Yoakam is more than just a country music legend. He's a case study, in how to build a timeless brand, guard your image, and run a quiet empire, a businessman in boots, and a style icon who turned his personal uniform into a money-making signature. Dwight Yoakam has always been the kind of star who lets his music and his mystique do the talking. But peel back the curtain just slightly, and you'll discover a financial empire that's both sprawling and surprising. Public estimates put his net worth somewhere between $45 to $55 million. But according to industry insiders and financial trackers, that number may be significantly undervalued, because Dwight's wealth isn't sitting in one flashy account. It's woven into decades of strategic choices, diversified investments, and creative ownership. It starts with his music catalog. Unlike many artists from his era who signed away rights early in their careers, Dwight retained control over a large portion of his master recordings and publishing. That means every time his songs are streamed, downloaded, licensed for film or television, or used in commercials, he gets paid. And not just a fraction. Full royalty rights from hits like Guitars, Cadillacs, 1,000 Miles from Nowhere, and Fast as You still generate passive income to this day. And given the resurgence of country classics in film soundtracks and retro playlists, that stream is far from drying up. Then there's touring. Even into his late 60s, Dwight Yoakam continues to fill venues. And unlike some legacy acts who struggle to draw crowds, Dwight remains in high demand. His shows sell out not just because of nostalgia, but because he still delivers. Tight performances, magnetic stage presence, and a devoted fan base that spans generations. With VIP experiences, merchandise sales, and direct-to-fan marketing, a single tour can generate millions in revenue. And he does it without an entourage or bloated production, meaning more profit stays in-house. But perhaps the most overlooked pillar of Dwight's financial foundation is his acting career. Every film role comes with an upfront paycheck, but the real money is in residuals. Titles like Sling Blade, Panic Room, and Crank continue to air on streaming services and cable channels, sending royalty checks year after year. Add to that his voice work, producer credits, and music video directing, and you're looking at a multifaceted income machine. And let's not forget real estate. Dwight has quietly bought and sold properties in California, including spots in the Hollywood Hills and countryside ranches. One source claims he flipped a mid-century property for nearly triple the purchase price after a discreet restoration. Others suggest he owns rental properties under LLCs, keeping his name off public records, but earning steady income in the background. Even his fashion ventures, small batch merchandise, denim collaborations, and custom accessories have turned profit with minimal risk. He keeps production lean and demand high. It's a boutique model that suits his image perfectly. Most telling, though, is how little of it he flaunts. Dwight isn't seen driving million-dollar cars or throwing lavish parties. He's not the subject of wealth exposés or reality TV specials. His version of success is quieter, strategic, grounded, and long-lasting. So what is Dwight Yoakam really worth? Financially, likely more than the headlines suggest, but culturally and artistically, his value is immeasurable. Because, in an industry that's chewed up and spit out even the brightest stars, Dwight not only survived, he outsmarted the system. And at 68, he's still cashing checks from work he did decades ago, all while living a life that's equal parts cowboy cool and business mastermind. Dwight Yoakam isn't just a musician or an actor or a businessman. He's a blueprint, a living example of what happens when talent meets strategy, when individuality refuses to be watered down, and when a man chooses legacy over limelight. At 68 years old, he's not running from his past. He's walking proudly through the empire it helped him build. The man who once played punk clubs in LA because Nashville wouldn't listen is now one of the most respected figures in both country and entertainment. And he did it without ever compromising who he was. His signature look hasn't changed. His voice, still twangy and sharp, carries the same emotional weight it did decades ago. His stage presence, still magnetic, but what's changed What's evolved is his life off the stage. A quiet marriage to a woman he deeply trusts. A son who arrived late in life, but perfectly on time for the kind of man Dwight has become. Homes that feel like sanctuaries, not trophies. Cars that whisper stories of another era. And a financial portfolio that rivals some of the loudest names in show business, all managed without spectacle. There's a kind of poetry in the way Dwight lives now. He's not chasing the charts, not battling for attention, not falling into the trap of reinvention for reinvention's sake. He's found peace in his rhythm and purpose in his privacy. While the industry around him has changed, artists coming and going, genres blending and blurring, Dwight remains, boots planted firmly, eyes shaded beneath the brim of that hat, watching it all from a distance. He's still performing, still writing, still creating, but it's on his terms, with a sense of control that most artists never achieve. And maybe that's the most Dwight Yoakam thing of all. Not the fame, not the fortune, not even the accolades, but the freedom. The freedom to be exactly who he is, no matter what anyone else expects. He's the last cowboy standing, a rhinestone outlaw who outlasted the machine. And in the end, it wasn't the loudest voice that echoed the longest. It was the one who sang from the heart and meant every word. At 68, Dwight Yoakam doesn't need to prove anything. He's already won, quietly, boldly, permanently.